Welcome to Module 3 of our Corporate Transparency Act course. And I'm going to talk to you today about errors. Now, this is really, really important because all of the, potential civil and criminal punishments all stem from this part of it. Now, I'm going to quote from the Small Business Beneficial Owner Guide that is FinCEN's own document. And it has two interesting things here that are key to understanding the danger that's coming. So this first one talks about safe harbor. It says, if a person has reason to believe their reporting contains errors and voluntarily submits a report correcting them within 90 days of the filing deadline, then they will have safe harbor from any penalties. Okay, sounds great. Or, oh, we're good. Oh, thank you, FinCEN. You're helping us out. You're helping a little person because, nobody's perfect, right? Okay. But here's, a paragraph later says, if you willfully fail to report complete beneficial ownership info, FinCEN will determine the appropriate enforcement response. Okay, that's not so friendly now, is it? So before we jump into this, let's just remind you what FinCEN does, right? It is responsible to go after money launderers, terrorism financing, and financial crimes in general. What do you think their attitude is going to be about non-compliance? All right. Are they going to be warm and fuzzy bunnies and say, oh, it's okay, we'll work with you? I suspect not, right? Think about it. This is the same agency that's allowed to seize your assets, freeze your bank accounts without any kind of a court order, right? So I don't know if they're necessarily going to give us a fair shake, if you know what I'm saying. But let's think about this, okay? These are raw statistics that, in the context of what those people who are foolish enough to comply with the Corporate Transparency Act, this is what's coming. All right. So did you know that there are approximately 33 million small businesses in the U.S.? Did you know there are 99.9% of the businesses in the U.S. are small business, and are going to have to report on this? Okay. 21.6 LLCs, 21.6 million LLCs exist in this country. They're going to have to report. Okay. According to their schedule, new entities that we already talked about in the previous module have, well, they say 30 days is the law, but they're talking about extending it for 90 days. But, how long is it going to last? That's it. That's pretty much depends on FinCEN. But let's just say, okay, so you have 90 days. Now, the rest of those millions and millions and millions of companies are going to have to register by the end of 2024. Think they're going to get overloaded? Do you think they're going to get overloaded? I think they're going to be very, very overloaded. Now, let's go back to the safe harbor quote, where it says that if a person has reason to believe their reporting contains errors and voluntarily submits a report correcting them within 90 days, they'll have safe harbor. Here's my question. How in the world are you going to know? Are you going to wake up some morning and just magically have a revelation from God that says, oh, wait a minute, I may have screwed up my reporting? You're not going to know. So you have tens of millions of reports coming in on a law that we don't know how well prepared they are. How long is it going to be until we are notified? And if we don't, again, here's the thing. If a person has reason to believe, that means they come up with this on their own without any kind of communication with FinCEN about this, right? So already that's kind of out the table. So you're going to be having, the question is going to be whether you make a mistake, if it's an innocent mistake, but you didn't come to realize that, and that FinCEN has to tell you that. How long is it going to be with all of this millions and millions, tens of millions of dollars? I'm sorry, millions of reports going in. How long is it going to take for them to get back to you? And is this going to be considered willful noncompliance? If you didn't discover the error on your own? See, that's the rub. That's the danger of this. Okay. And my gosh, think about how from just put that aside for a second. Think about the hassle of of compliance. Remember in the previous module, we talked about reporting requirements and updating changes. I mean, you're going to have to get, if you're a business owner, you're going to have to get pretty deeply involved in anybody in your company that is considered a beneficial owner, right? So, okay, you have to make sure they report any kind of changes that are happening, right? Well, let's say again, in the case of a woman, generally speaking, the woman does this, gets married and either changes the last name or just does a hyphen, goes hyphen route, right? They got to report that. I mean, are you going to have to sit there and pry into their personal lives all the time to make sure that your company's in compliance? They change of address, right? I mean, nobody does that really. If you think about it, it's all voluntary. But you're going to have to be proactive if you want to avoid all of these potential penalties, which we'll get into in a later module. But they're serious, right? New IDs, things like that. So this is going to force you as a business owner to get so deep and have more hassle and more time. Do you want to be involved in that? But those are the issues when we talk about errors. So as we go forward in this training, keep that in mind, right? That how deeply involved you're going to have to be and how much more time has to spend on something that's absolutely ridiculous, and whether you want to do that or not, right? Okay, we'll leave it at that. We'll go into our next module here shortly. So I look forward to seeing you there. Let's get going.